Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to our first Ivan Live. I'm your host, Jen Janad, and today we are joined by Dewan Ahmed, and we are going to be talking about so many things.
Hey Jen, how's
Netlify.
it going?
I know, I'm excited. I just want to learn and things, but we have stuff to talk about beforehand. Dewan, what are we learning about today?
We're gonna learn about so many things. One of the things we're gonna learn about is our favorite choice of drink.
It's true. It's true. What are all of you drinking
So
today?
I'm from the beautiful east coast of Canada, the beautiful New Brunswick, and of course, being a Canadian, I love Tim Hortons. But I'm a tea person, so let's hear from the audience if they're more like a tea person or a coffee person. So if you're on the chat, please let us know where you're joining from and what's your favorite drink.
I definitely, yes. Maddie, Diet Coke. You are a Diet Coke person. Every time I've traveled with Maddie, it's always Diet Coke. And Alina, tea and coffee. And I feel like, oh, we got water. All right. I have a water and I have coffee. I have both going on right now. I gotta have both next to me or I'll forget to drink for the day.
Is it called cheating? Like I have a reusable Tim Hortons cup, but I actually have water in it. So whoever said water, kudos. All right, so while we're getting the choice of drinks, so what we're going to talk about today are a lot of things. One of them would be deploying your Next.js application on Netlify. And of course, you need to have a robust backend, your choice of databases. So that's going to be powered by Aiven for PostgreSQL and Aiven for Redis. We're also going to use Prisma as the ORM. If you don't know what an ORM is, if you don't know about Netlify, if you don't know about Aiven, not a problem. I think, Jen, we have enough time today, right, to talk about all of those.
Yes. But before we get started, Dwan, who are you in general? Like, I just said, hey, we're Ivan Live and let's go. But it's because I got excited knowing that we were going to ask about drinks. So, Dwan, who are you?
I am a human being, but I think I get the question
It's
what you were
good to know.
asking. Yeah, I think the question you were asking that. So we are developer advocates, right? So what is developer advocate? What we do? So one of the things we do is we talk about technology. We get super excited about technology, whether we go give a talk, we write a blog or content, or we do these fun live streams. So what we do is talk about technology and how it can solve your complex business problem. That's one way of giving the world what we're doing. But the other important part of that is getting your feedback. So we can tell you about all the cool things, but we'd like to hear from you. So if you give your feedback, we bring it back to the people building those technology.
Nice. I like that explanation. And before we go further, what is Ivan?
Good question. So Ivan is a trusted open source data platform for everyone. So a lot of heavy words, right? So let's break it down for everyone. So it's open source. That means all the services we offer as part of the Ivan platform are super popular open source projects themselves. It's trusted. That means the platform itself, it's secure, it's reliable, it's scalable, and it's enterprise ready. Next comes the platform piece. So as a whole, is more than the combination of its pieces. That means, let's say, Jen, if you wanna have, let's say, a PostgreSQL service, let's say you spin it up yourself, there's a ton of different things you need to do, how you integrate with other services, how you check the logging, monitoring, all those things. The platform gives it to you. But last and not the least, the most important bit is it's for everyone. That means regardless of the size of your company, the vertical, the type of your business, you can benefit from this trusted data platform, and it's for everyone.
I like it. I like it. All right. I put all the heavy lifting on Dwan. of explaining everything we do in DevRel. So thank you. I appreciate it. I am, as Dewan said, a developer advocate here at Aiven as well. And I also have, outside of Aiven, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, in the States. Dwan mentioned earlier that he's in Canada. We are a global company. And I also, outside of work, have hobbies that go into work call with a show called Teach Gen Tech, which is making me so excited about today because I get to learn more tech. And yes, so and before we get super started, because I know that we talked a lot about what we're doing today and to make sure that everyone can take a look at what we're going through and the tutorial link, here it is. I'll also link it in the comments. And I'm curious because what are y'all most excited about learning today? Like, is it taking a look at Netlify? If you've never used Netlify, are you looking forward to taking a look at what you're doing with Postgres and Redis, like on top of each other, or Prisma? What? It's a 404. Why are we getting a 404 today? Does it not give? Oh, there's no space. It didn't paste with spaces. That's a good thing to know. Let me try this again. Rude. Mm. Angie, did you do is the 404 from the barcode? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's because there's no space in it when it pasted. Try that one? Or double pasted? Trying to look at what it did. Right, Maddie? Yes. Technical issues on live streams is like a regular thing, and you kind of just have to wing it. That is one of my favorite parts of live streams is they're not super structured and polished, even though they are at the same time. So, well, that will give you a bit of information on there. And all right, y'all, let's get started. And I'm excited for Dwan to break down each of these of each of the products. And please ask your questions as we go. We will have a Q&A. Maddie Stratton, I think we got it. It worked now. I copy and pasted into the wrong, it didn't give it spaces when I copied both. But, for on that note, please know that we will have a Q&A towards the end, and let us know throughout if you have questions. All right, Dwan, I will hand it over to you.
Sounds good, Jen. So let me know if folks can see my screen. Okay, perfect. So if you're seeing the screen, here's an image, right? So a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I talk a lot, so I'm going to have a picture and 1,000 words. So if you see what you have on your left side of the screen, it's a typical development environment. So we have our developer, Alex. Alex is very happy. Alex is writing his Next.js application and he's compiling and building, and he can see, yeah, the app works on the local host 8080. And because Alex loves containers, he's also using, let's say, a MySQL and Redis container for the application. So that's all good and nice. But the issue with that is this doesn't scale, right? Alice, so there's a common joke in the software industry is it works on my machine. But then the response is, yes, but we can't give customers your machine, right? So Alex can't use his machines for production issues. So the app needs to be scalable, reachable, globally reachable. So for that, Alex can push the code to the GitHub repository, and it could be any SCM or source control management. And then there is the Netlify piece, right, which is the production environment. So let me break down the right-hand side down. So there's this application platform, and there's these data services platform. So on the top, you have the application platform. So we're using Netlify today, where your application can reach a global audience, scalable, secure. So now using a GitHub webhook, as soon as you push, or you can manually trigger, and we'll see all that in the demo today. the app is now running on Netlify. But the containers on your local machine, those are no longer available, and nor you want to use them. You want a scalable, reliable, secure, production grade database, all right, or caching service. So here we have Aiven for MySQL powering as the backend, as a relational database, and we also have Aiven for Redis as the cache. Now, in the demo today, we're going to use Aiven for PostgreSQL. So we're going to swap MySQL with PostgreSQL, and we'll show you how easy that is. But the concept is similar, very similar. So we have PostgreSQL instead of MySQL, and you can have both of those on Aiven platform, besides a number of other awesome open source data services. So this is in a nutshell that you push your code to GitHub, and your GitHub repository is set up such a way so that as soon as you push a code, and you can even have a setting on specific branches, a build is triggered, and Netlify deployment starts, and you have a Netlify site where your application is deployed, and then your application talks to a few data services. One of them would be Aiven for PostgreSQL, and one of them would be Aiven for Redis. A lot of concepts in a very short time, Jen. Let's see if we have any questions in the chat.
More of a commentation of the more Maddies, the merrier, and trying to figure out if Maddie's. I'm trying to say see if Maddie squared it can be a thing, but not yet, not yet.
All right.
And I will say I am working on making the links work when I paste them to y'all, so might be a little weird for a minute, but I will get them working for us. Yay.
Perfect. So Jen, let's actually dive into the tutorial, right? Because you pasted a link, and I think few folks would be actually following along with us. So if they are following along, so this Aiven developer content has all the details, right? This tutorial. There are few prerequisites. So one of them is you sign up for an Aiven account, because that Aiven for PostgreSQL and Aiven for Redis service you'll get if you sign up for an Aiven account. And there's a free tier. That means you don't have to pay, you don't have to put down your credit card. You can sign up for the account, and you can create a PostgreSQL, MySQL, and Redis service for free, and play around it, and do some fun projects.
And the QR code does let you go to the sign up page. So just as a heads up there, and we got the link in the chat as well.
That is fantastic. Next, you sign up for a Netlify account. Many developers, they already have a Netlify account. So when you actually click, you might realize, oh, I created a Netlify account previously anyway. And they have single sign-on using your, let's say, GitHub or Gmail. So this should be very fast. Like these signups should be pretty fast. You can, the third one is optional, but I highly suggest, like, install the GitHub CLI. And there's a command gen, like I didn't know, I learned it just a few weeks ago. This is pretty dope. So we'll see what that command is. And then you'll install the Netlify CLI. So if you're following along, we're gonna give you just a few minutes so that you can install these prerequisites, and then we can continue. Meanwhile, Jen, when you see any tutorial, right? Like, what are a few questions you have?
I will say, like, something that all of you may not know is Juan is somebody who taught me, like, how to go through and learn tech that I did not know. And really quick, before I go into that, I'm going to do the overall tutorial link as our QR code so you can get to the same page. All the individual links are on the in the chat as well. So please let me know if you need me to repost any of those. And yes, Christian, Dwan is on. Dwan is always bringing the magic. And so when I'm looking at a tutorial, and it's Dwan who taught me this, was something I always do is read through it, the entire thing first, and then go search things I don't know. And on that point, I want to ask questions. Yes, Maddie. The Postgres database is hosted on Aiven.
Yep, yep. And yeah, Jen, you have been phenomenal. The way you're learning, you're tackling these challenges. So I'm learning a lot from you. So when I was first learning like different technologies, right, or reading tutorials, a lot of things seem like this does not make any sense. And then, of course, there are answers, but we just have to dig a little bit deeper. So when we go through a tutorial, let's say you are a backend developer, right? And then you see all these terms like Next.js and JavaScript and TypeScript, and you say in your head, where is my Java code? Or where is my Python code, right? Like same thing could be, let's say if you're a DevOps engineer, you can say, hey, but where is my CI/CD pipeline, right? So the good thing is uh, this tutorial has a bit for almost everyone. I don't think there's any machine learning in it, but we can have maybe some machine learning in a future content. But what I'm getting at is this tutorial at the end, when you have it running, and I'm gonna show you a sneak peek. So it's gonna have this running website, right? It's a front end, it's a running website, it's making some calls to the database, it has a caching, it has a CI/CD, not a robust CI/CD, but let's say a simple CI/CD pipeline, like robust in terms of it's secure, it's reliable, but it's not a complex. It's a simple CI/CD where you make a git change in your files, and then you commit that change, and then it triggers a new deploy. So we have something for everyone. And if you're following along this tutorial, if you don't understand something, let's say you come to the point where you have, let's say, so this is the repository, by the way. So we have the actual repository. And is the font okay? Should I zoom in a bit?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Much better.
So let's say you come here, you see Prisma. What is Prisma? And that's the point where you're like, yep, I don't know about Prisma. I'm going to stop this tutorial. Don't do it. First of all, today we have quite a long time, so we're going to try to explain all this thing. You can ask questions in the chat. But if you don't understand something, unless the content, the live stream is done, or you're watching it at some later date, there is a very vibrant and active Aiven community forum where many of us hang out. So if you have a question, feel free to ask your question on the Aiven community forum. So then we can answer your questions there. Thanks, Jen, for adding a link to the Aiven community forum. So yeah, highly encourage you to join the Aiven community forum. And then if you don't understand something, we can answer it there. All right. So coming back, I think by now you already have installed these CLI tools. You probably have already signed up for an Aiven account, a Netlify account, right? Let's go to this stage. And Jen, feel free to stop me at any time if you have a question or if you see any questions in the chat.
I would say something that I may have missed that I'm a bit curious about is, can you explain what Netlify is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Netlify is a platform that lets you deploy your application to a global audience. And of course, this might be a very high level explanation of Netlify, but think of the explanation I did for Ivan. So typically, when we think about cloud computing, right, what are the three pieces? In cloud computing, we have the compute, we have the network, and we have the storage, right? These are the three pieces of cloud computing. So imagine your application, it's deployed, and it's using these three resources, right? Somewhere. It has to be deployed somewhere. So that somewhere is Netlify. Of course, as a high level platform, it abstracts away a lot of things from you. Like, you don't have to say, okay, these are the specific subnets which I choose. Of course, I think at Netlify you can specify like a lot of network configurations, but that's not the point. The point is you're a developer, you're focusing on solving real business problems, and you want to abstract away as much underlying things as possible, right? So that's what Netlify gives you. You have a GitHub repository or any Git repository, and you just want to deploy your application. So that's what Netlify allows you. And there's a nice, let me show you. So there's a nice button as well on these repositories. Where is it? See, this deploy to Netlify. So this is the hand-deleted button, and you already have a link to this repository. So clicking this button will actually set up all those things in the backend, which is super awesome, right? You deploy to Netlify. And the same thing about Aiven as well. So the compute network storage. So you need those resources for your cloud computing, regardless of if it's an application, if it's a database. So these high-level platforms abstract away those things from you as a developer so that you can focus on actually building super cool applications.
Very cool. Thank you. And something that I think we explained it a bit earlier about Ivan, yet I think something that's a good call out. And if you could, I'm guessing you're probably going to show us anyway, but with the question of are we hosting the database on Ivan? So I'm guessing we'll go through that a bit more. If you can make
This is the
time, like,
part. Yes, this
oh,
is the
cool.
part.
Yeah,
This is the
easy.
part about Ivan and where we're hosting the database and everything, right? So if you have signed up for an Ivan account, your console would look something like this. Not exactly like, or not exactly this. You might not have any service running here. This might be blank, but this might be the, the type of screen you're looking at, right? So this is the Ivan console. So here, as a user, you're already signed in, right? So you're already signed in, you're authenticated, so you can actually create service. At the back end, what's happening is this nice console, kudos to our UX designers, you can click a button. Let's say I can create service by clicking a button, and you have all these options. At the end of the tutorial, and please remind me, Jen, if I forget, I'll show you how you can use automation tools like Terraform as well to create these services, which is close to my heart. All right, coming back, I have to control my emotion of going to the Terraform route. So right now we're at the console. All right, so here, let's say we have to create a PostgreSQL database. So we have instructions in the tutorial. So I click here, and Ivan gives you choice to create this service in 5 of the major cloud providers across 100 plus regions. That means you want to deploy to AWS in Asia Pacific, fine. Or let's say you want to deploy to Google Cloud in Europe, you can do that. Azure, let's say North America, DigitalOcean, UpCloud, you get to choose. I think, Jen, what's mentioned in the tutorial is for this tutorial, it's preferred that you use AWS US East 1 region. That's because the Netlify free plan, the functions where it's deployed, that's in the same region. So you'll have low latency if you do that. All right, so let's say you select your preferred cloud, the specific region. Next comes the service plan. All right, so you might think, okay, startup, business, premium, I don't get that. This is actually Ivan abstracting away all the underlying nitty-gritty details because, okay, so it's compute network storage, right? At the end, it comes down to that. So how many CPU, the RAM, the storage, specific point-in-time recovery options. But every time you can't mention all those. So it has these names. So you can pick and choose whichever service plan that fits your business need. For this demo, you can actually select a free plan, right? That's going to be perfectly fine. And then you give your service a name at the end. And then here you hit create free service. That's it. So once you do that, I've already done that. And the same thing. So I showed for PostgreSQL and the same thing for Redis, selecting the cloud region, selecting the free plan, give your service a name. Once you do that, then you'll see that you'll have two service. And it might be have a flashing blue, says building. So that's when the VMs are being provisioned, your services are being created. When you see this solid green, which says running, that means your service is up and running. One other thing I wanted to show you, Jen, you can click here let's say I want to click here. The first thing I see is all my connection information. That means the service URI, the host, the port, all these important details. Now you might be saying that I'm a Java developer, Dewan. Like, how do I connect? Do I ask ChatGPT? Of course, you can ask ChatGPT, you
ChatGPT is our best friend, in case anybody wanted to know. We talk about this on a regular basis.
it was Google before, right? It was Google is our best friend, and then we switched best friends because why not, right? Best friend can be switchable. Uh, so then you can click Quick Connect. So this gives you a lot of ways you can connect your application to this data service. One of them would be, let's say, if it's Redis, then you have Redis CLI. But if you have different programming languages, let's say Java, uh, it gives you all the details and a code sample how you can connect to the application to the database using that application, and that's for PostgreSQL as well. All right, so at this point, if you're following along this tutorial, so you might be creating these two services. It might take some time, but once they're up and running, we're gonna jump to the next stage.
For all of you watching, something you can't hear that was very stuck in my mind is I moved a clock into our room, into my office, and it's the only thing I can hear now while we were transitioning that I was like, I need to say something, but the clock is just really loud, and I've never noticed before. Random live stream fun that we get to learn about.
Yeah, it's summer in Canada. Although I say summer, but it's mostly like a rainy season. Um, whenever we have these like videos or live stream, I think that would one of my neighbors start mowing the lawn, or cutting the tree with a giant chainsaw. I don't know, like something. But if it's too quiet, I'm thinking that when's gonna be the next unexpected sound? But on that note, let's go to the application code. All right, so you already have seen the GitHub repository, right? And this is where you need the GitHub CLI. You see this handy command? I did not know about. Jen, did you know that this command lets you fork a repository and clone it in one command? So traditionally, I've always forked a repository, right? Let's say this is the original repository, which is under Aiven-labs. There are a lot of so under Aiven Labs, you have the original repository. Then I forked it. So now this is under my own my own GitHub account, Dewan Ahmed, Next.js, Netlify, and then I'd clone it.
That
But
that's what I do too.
I think that's what most of us do. But the cool kids, what the cool kids do is they have this gh repo command. You can fork it and then dash clone at the same time. So TIL.
Okay. I like that. I like that. And Alina, I am glad you cannot hear the clock. And Maddie Two Shoes, I'm in bed by 9 p.m. Like I have to wake up way too early to stream that late. But plus, like we have a regular learner that I'm like, dude, we got to do it early. But eventually, hopefully, we get different time zones. And John, I I feel like you need to post pictures on Twitter or something of this terrier. But yes, my dog has interrupted many a time live stream on. Luckily, she's being taken care of right now. So hopefully not today.
Yeah,
All
I wouldn't
right.
say interrupt. I say surprise guest. We have now a
That's true.
surprise guest, right?
That is true. Any surprise guess. That is fun. Okay, cool.
All right. So coming
And I
back.
did not know that. That's happy. I like that. That you can do it all in one.
All right. So coming back here, if you have used that command to fork the repository and clone on your local machine, it would look something like that, right? You cd into Next.js-Netlify, and you do an ls-la, and you'll see all the files. Of course, you can do that using, let's say, you have your favorite code editor, cough cough VS Code, and then you can see all the folders and files. So this is the next step. So this is where we have get the application code. Before we go to the deploying the application, I'd like to know from our audience, like how has been their experience when they deploy an application? Like how easy it is, how difficult it is, how many hoops they have to jump through.
I'm curious as well. I feel like for myself, it's been a learning experience because I'm like not as experienced in building it, but it's gotten a lot easier with a tool like Netlify. That definitely makes it so much easier to be able to see it come to life and be able to share it, but also not need to do it with the domain at first that I want it to have. I can connect to the domain later on, but I don't have to use the default domain to see it. And I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you see so far, we didn't do much, right? I mean, didn't do much means we installed some prerequisites, we forked and cloned the repository, and that's in one command. We cd into the directory. Now let's actually count the number of commands we have to do before we actually deploy our application to a global audience. So let's start with Netlify Login. So on your local machine, let's say you do Netlify Login. So I'm already logged in, so I think it's going to show that I'm already logged in, right? So you can do a Netlify status command and see like all the status of your site. So I'm already logged in, and I'm going to go to the next command. That is the one command to observe Netlify init. So let me unmaximize. Let's see.
That is a weird thing with Macs is it's always like, I
Yes,
love my Apple, but trying to get out of like full screen is very difficult.
I was on the wrong side of the screen clicking. It's me. It's not Mac. It's me. All
I
right.
don't know. I get stuck on them.
So before that, I wanted to show you the Netlify side. Like we have been mentioning about Netlify a lot, but it's unfair that we haven't showed the Netlify console yet. So this is the Netlify console, and they have a structure like where how you organize your, let's say, the sites. So it's a logical structure where you have a team. This is similar to, let's say, if you're using Aiven, you have an org, right? So organization, and within organization, you have projects. So for example, solution architecture is the organization here, and DevRel Dewan, which is my project. I can build stuff here. So similarly, within Netlify, you have my organization. So this is, I created it, I named it Fruit Stand because why not? And then under sites, all the sites you're gonna create will show up here. So right now it's empty slate. There's nothing there. That's about to change. We're gonna copy this command called netlify init, and this does all the magic. All right, so let's go ahead and do netlify init. So let me go full screen again. All right, so it gives me two options. One is connect this directory to an existing Netlify site. That means, let's say you already have a Netlify site running and you just like to connect the existing code repository, or you want to create and configure a new site. I want to create and configure a new site because none currently exist. Then it's going to ask you, okay, so which theme you're going to use? Fruit Stand, that's the only theme I have. Now give your site a name. So this is just a name on Netlify. Jen, what's your favorite drink, or like what are we gonna name this site? Doesn't matter, whatever comes to your head.
Matcha.
Matcha. Okay.
Matcha is my favorite. And a friend of mine that owned a coffee shop hated the fact that I loved sparkling water
Yeah.
and like no sugar added matcha. She
Is
started
it,
calling it the sparkling emerald
did I spell it
because
correctly?
it has a T in it too.
T in it?
Yes.
Matcha.
Now I'm gonna think about it.
You're
Maybe
you're
I'm this. I'm like, I drink it enough. Yes, it's here we go. I just put it in the chat for everybody instead of just you.
okay.
Well, hey,
So
if anybody wants to look up matcha, that's how you spell it.
okay, so Jen loves matcha. So is it matcha?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Matcha. Okay. So Jen loves matcha is our site name. Site is created. Now it has an admin URL. It has the URL to the actual site. Now your existing repository, your let's say Next.js dash Netlify, where you're deploying it from your local machine, is linked. Now it's going to configure the runtime. So if you're following this tutorial, these would be the default, right? This is the build command. What's the build command to actually build the website? npm run build Netlify. You don't have to change a thing. Hit enter. Next, you hit enter. Now what it's doing is adding a deploy key to the repository so that your repository, the GitHub repository, can create a deployment on Netlify. Now at adding a notification webhook, so webhook, what the webhook is doing, so it's listening for any change on your GitHub repository. So once you make a code change on specific branch, or let's say if it's on main, then a listener on Netlify side will start the deployment. Success, Netlify CI/CD is configured. So that's what I was saying, that Next.js front end, but let's say if you're a DevOps engineer, we're showing a bit of CI/CD as well. All right, so now there's just one command, Netlify init, and it did everything for you. So now let's look at the tutorial. So where we are. So we have to open the Netlify admin interface to add some configurations. But before that, I wanted to show you, you can actually open your site using this command, Netlify open site. And then if you go here under sites, if I do a refresh, look at that. Jen loves matcha. Your site is there, okay? And you can actually see the site if I go to my terminal and then I try to use the Netlify command, Netlify open dash dash site. It's gonna open up the site as well. Back, it's building, so it's building right now. So if we see the site right here, Jen, do you see it's failed? Any guess why this is failed? The reason is it's in the logs. So we can go here and look right here. It says environment variable not found, database underscore URL. And that is intentional because we intentionally skipped a section, this section right here, where we had to add these variables. That's just to show if you're trying to follow a tutorial and if something doesn't work, that's okay. No need to panic. This gives you a chance to learn, right? Where things are going. And if you're interested, you can write a blog on it. All right, so you can do a Netlify open dash dash admin. This is gonna open up the admin interface for your site configuration. So let me do that. Netlify open dash dash admin. Okay, so here we already saw, right, why the build failed. We understand that we didn't add the database URL. So what the site is trying to do is trying to build. And within the code, let me show you. So there is Prisma in the section, right? And then if you see the schema, it fetches this database underscore URL. This is the environment variable for the Next.js application to know, hey, where is my database? Right now, it doesn't know. That's why it's failing.
And I love Prisma, in case anybody was curious. I was very
Ah,
excited to hear that we're using Prisma. I used it on some of my first apps, so it's
that
happening.
reminds me, we didn't talk about Prisma, okay? So Prisma is an object relational mapping. Again, heavy words. What does it mean? It just abstracts away the underlying database for you. So that means it represents the underlying database and tables as class. So uh, as a developer, you are more comfortable dealing with classes and objects. So Prisma lets you do that. All right. So let's copy some useful information. The first step is go to your Aiven console. Your two services should be running now. Aiven Netlify PG. You see the service URI right here, and it has a copy to clipboard button. Copy that. Go to your site configurations. You're under fruit stand, which is your team. Jen loves matcha, your site, and there your site configuration. Go to environment variable and click add a variable. Add a single variable. You can also import from a file for a list of variables. And this is database underscore URL. You should not type it. You can just copy it. And then I'm going to paste the URI, which I just copied, right? But we need something more. If you follow this tutorial, you'll see that at the end, you need to mention the schema as well. So let's copy that, go right here. At the very end, we add the schema. Looks good. And then we create the variable. And for a fraction of a second, you might be seeing the credential. Don't worry, it's a demo account, and we're going to clean everything up right after this stream. All right, next is we create the Redis URI, this variable right here. And we go here, the same process, add a variable, add a single variable, Redis underscore URI, and this will come from Redis. Copy, and then paste it right here. Create variable. Cool. So now we have the database underscore URL and Redis underscore URI. Now, Jen, we have two options. One is I can go to my source code, I can make any change, and then push it, and that's going to trigger the deploy. But we already know that this is okay. We just added the environment variable, so we want to manually trigger the deploy, right? You can do that. For that, you can go to the deploy section on the left-hand side and click trigger deploy site, and then we wait.
Yay. Something I've been meaning to ask all of the database gurus in my life is what's the difference between like when you connect them with the database like URL and a URI?
That is a good point. So URL and URI, I feel the difference is within the URI, it's a fully qualified, it has the credentials in it. So you'll see that the URI
Ah,
I copied, it has like the host name, the username and password, everything in it. URL is just the endpoint. Like, what is the endpoint of your database? Typically, URL would be the host name and port number. Like the
got it. Okay.
I I,
That's
I
totally
think
me.
I think that is
That
the
makes
case.
sense.
I think
Yeah,
that
that
is the
totally
case.
makes
But
sense.
we have a lot of brilliant folks in the chat, so they can comment, they can correct if that's not the right case.
I am curious how others would explain it too. So, Alina, Floor, Francesco, Celeste, I'm looking at you, seeing how you would explain it. Maddie Two Shoes, if you're still here, also curious how you'd explain it. All the database gurus.
For Matthew, you can say, if you agree, put an emoji of a Diet Coke.
I like it.
All right, so far it looks good, Jen. So far, see, we don't have that build failure anymore. Um, if you see, it has all those typical like the CI steps, the initializing, let's say pulling the specific files, it's building, it's deploying, and now we have everything green. in our deploy log. So let's actually try the same command we tried previously, which was Netlify open dash dash site. Going right here. And it opened up in the different screen, but voila, there you go. We have our site deployed to Netlify in what? One command. It was Netlify init. It configured everything in the backend. It deployed to Netlify. You needed to add two environment variables that made your application talk to Aiven's powerful data platform. So this is the homepage of the application. But if you want to actually see, Jen, are you feeling hungry?
You know it, always.
Okay, so this for some reason, this demo
Can
always
you
makes me,
zoom it in a little bit for
yes,
us, please?
yes, for sure, for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
This demo always makes me hungry because this has more than 1,000 recipes. And look at some of the recipes: a fruitcake, apricot cheesecake. Oh, so of course, being a foodie myself, I have liked some of these recipes, but there's a lot to go through. All right, so let's actually dive in, like what this application is doing. So of course, it's the Next.js application. It has this page, but for the backend, there's a recipe table. So all these recipes are coming from Aiven for PostgreSQL, and we'll show you it later. You can configure this application with Aiven for Redis or without Aiven for Redis. If you enable Aiven for Redis, see this button, you can toggle it, enable or disable. You get these stats faster because, Jen, this is cached now under Aiven for Redis. So this is much faster. But even if you don't do that, it's just going to pull it from the database, which is going to change the latency, right? So you can toggle and then change the latency, right? You can see, let's see the latency time it changes. Cool. So this section, which you see on the screen, this is being fed from Aiven for Redis. Everything else, like the details about the recipe name and all the details, like more than 1,000 recipes, everything is in Aiven for PostgreSQL.
I'm seeing Francesca put a pineapple in there. So does that mean we need to search for like a pineapple recipe? What about
Ah,
pineapple and pizza? How does
no,
everybody
no, we
like
don't.
pineapple and people? Does it go together? Does it?
We don't want the Italian pizza police to come and stop the live streaming right now, right? So we do want to continue and avoid Italian pizza police. So so let's not search for that recipe. But we do have a lot of recipes here. So you might be wondering, Dewan, this is all fake. You just put out a nice HTML, CSS web page, and it's not talking to the database. Prove it to me that he's talking to the database. Okay, so let's go ahead and prove that. So to do that, so what I'll do is I'll go here, and again, if you want to connect, you can ask your best friend ChatGPT, or you can hit this blue quick connect button, and that's gonna give you the psql command. Like, easy, right? Easy. Click here, and then I'm on my terminal. With one command, I'm connected to my database, and I have to remember this. /dt shows me the tables, and I can see recipes right here, right? This is the recipes table, and I can say, okay, show me everything from recipes, which is not going to look pretty, but just hang on for a second. So this shows everything, right? It's not pretty. So let's make it pretty. All I wanted to do is just get these column names, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify I need the recipe name. I need the total cook time in minutes. And I need this one, is liked, like which recipes I liked, right? From recipes, and I'm going to add a clause where is liked, oops, not this one, where is liked equals True. Look at that. What does it show, Jen? It shows, okay, I'm selecting these three columns because I don't want to see so many columns. I want to
Mhm.
see the name of the recipe, total time it needs to cook in minutes, and then I want to only select these recipes which I liked. Look at this name: apricot cheesecake, fig ricotta cake, 100% fruit cake, and two others. And let's say if we now go back to where is this one?
I'm just surprised that the cheesecake takes 528 minutes.
I know. Look at this. It's almost 9 hours.
Is it counting like refrigeration time?
Hmm. It,
I'm
it seems
wondering.
that it's like seeding like the apricot tree and then waiting for the tree to bloom. It might be factoring in like this cultivation time. I don't know, but it does show these five recipes, right?
All right, all right.
Okay, so are you convinced? It shows I'm not faking it. It's
Mhm.
actually talking to the
No?
database. Okay.
Although, uh, fruitcake, I like that it has cake in quotes.
100% fruit cake. Yes. I didn't see that. Like, yes,
Yeah.
sure. Where's my sugar? Where's my sugar? Where's my flour? Where's my whipping cream, right?
Yes, yes.
And it's 30 minutes. I don't know. They're just gonna put a bunch of cake in some dough and say, call it a cake. All right. So some of you might be saying, hey, where's my caching? Where's my Redis? Okay, so let's check the Redis part. So let's go back to the project, go to your service and quick connect, and you can copy the Redis CLI command. So Redis is a key value store, if you know, and with that, you can let me clear and okay, I'm connected to the my Redis service, right? So it's all key value. So if you don't know where are the keys, you can just hit keys and a pattern. I don't know. I want to select all the keys, right? So this shows me recipe dash stats. That's fine. It matches. But I wanna look at the value. So then you can do okay. I want to see the value for recipe dot stats. Look at that thing. So I'm not. It's not fake. You see, let's look at the liked recipe count. This one right here. Again, I was trying to select the wrong screen. I was trying to select. Okay, I have to come here. Liked recipe count 5, right? So now these
Mhm.
information. That's the information that's coming from this top portion of your page, like all those caching or the statistics, the recipe statistics and the cooking time statistics, right? All recipes count, liked recipe count, average amount of serving, all these things. So if you see total recipe count, so these are the value that's
Mhm.
cached. Cool, impressive, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, um, I'm gonna show some more things, uh, but security folks, please don't be alarmed because right now I'm going to my GitHub repository settings page, and here I'll show you the webhook. Do you see this webhook? So this didn't exist before. So when we did that netlify init command, and then it went through all the steps and it says added a webhook, because when you connected your GitHub to Netlify, it could create a webhook. Next, it also needed some deploy keys to deploy to Netlify, because you might be wondering, like, how does this work again? Like GitHub and Netlify, like I'm not doing it. How is GitHub deploying to Netlify? So if you go to deploy keys, and again, I'm not showing you my private key. This is just the signature of the key. But again, for security purposes, after the live stream, I'm going to clean up all the services and all these deploy key. But I just wanted to show you that these are the public keys um, that Netlify added on your GitHub repository so that GitHub could deploy to Netlify.
Hmm.
Cool. If you're still wondering about Prisma, um,
I
and
am.
okay, cool. So it's like Lego block. You can swap the database. So here you can see that under your schema.prisma file, you have set the provider as PostgreSQL. You can change that provider to MySQL. Just use a different data source. And then let's say you create um, Ivan for MySQL, and then you can use that link when you create the environment variable on your Netlify. So here, let's say you go to your site configurations, your environment variable, and this database URL. If you put your MySQL, it will work
Hmm.
fine. And if you're curious, follow ivan.io developer, because we will have a content on the same tutorial, but we're going to swap PostgreSQL with MySQL in the future.
And I think what I'm excited about because I've used Prisma before is like the GUI it has to be able to look at the data, and I'm always like, that's just so cool.
Yes, yes, for sure. Like it creates a nice abstractions, right? Rather than you
Yes.
figuring out all the database commands, like it shows you as a table, as a class, and then it takes away all those like complex database access issues.
Yes.
So coming back to the tutorial, in the last part, which is use the application, you have some details like what is it and how these are storing. But then, of course, find out more. It doesn't end here, Jen. Like you can find out some more details. There is Ivan documentation.
Yes.
Uh, we can give you some homework. You're watching our live stream. You can't get away without some homework. The homework for you would be try out the same tutorial and replace the database with Ivan for MySQL. Just give it a try. If you have any question, Jen already showed you the Ivan community link, right? Ask there. Will be helping you out there. But it's going to be a cool project. If you're a student or a new grad and you're thinking of, hey, how can I showcase one of my project so that I can get a tech job? I think this can be a pretty good project. You can fork the repository, you can do some changes, you can add a solid README, and then just present during your interview, like what you learned from these projects. You're using Ivan, you're using Netlify, like production grade two platforms, an ad platform and a data platform, right? So this can be a pretty powerful project for your portfolio. And then, yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Really quick on screen, so that way y'all have it in the future, is the tutorial link. So you can bring up this again for those who are watching it after we're streaming. And then switching over now to the link for Ivan's community, you can scan this or type it in what's up above and be able to join the community for more, to be able to join the conversation there.
Yeah, and then last, Jen, I can't end any stream or a video without mentioning Terraform at least once. So
It's
if you are
true.
thinking that why should I click and create these two services? Isn't there a way to automate stuff? Yes, my friend, there is. There is Ivan Terraform provider. So if you check, it'll take you here, the Terraform provider. We also have Ivan Terraform cookbook, which the link Jen added. So what this cookbook shows you is commonly used services, which you can just copy these manifests or Terraform files and deploy. So, for example, we created something for PostgreSQL, right? So this recipe shows how you can deploy multiple PostgreSQL service across clouds and regions. So check out Terraform Cookbook as well, and you can automate all your Ivan service creation. All right, ton of information then I think for 1 hour live stream, but if there are a few things I'd like to call to attention is don't feel intimidated. You might be in different stages at your learning journey. You might be an expert, You might be just starting. Don't feel intimidated. The instructions are there. Follow it, give it a try, and ask questions if you get stuck.
Mhm. We talked about earlier that you can do it on your on our community. You can tweet both of us, which I did put it. We put our Twitter handles underneath both of our names. You can reach out there. Same on LinkedIn. Community is going to be the fastest because it's not just us replying to you; it's our entire team with the best support that you can get for it. And I think that that wraps it all up. Am I forgetting anything, Dwan?
No, I think that's pretty much it. And I wanted to thank you, Jen, for being an amazing host, an amazing colleague. You're doing fantastic. And if you're not following Jen yet, follow Jen on Twitter, on or X, and LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Uh,
whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called. Uh, I'm more like a LinkedIn person, but
Yes,
I do have a Twitter or X profile. But yeah, please reach out if you have any question. And
agreed.
to our audience, thank you so much for taking the time on this fine Wednesday to spend with us.
Again, thank you. And agreed. Thank you for all the nice things you said. But also, y'all, Dwan posts a lot of very technical content, which is broken down really well, and does a lot of written content, which I know some people, it really is valuable to being able to go back and see it. I do a lot of video content. We balance each other out pretty well. It's one of the best parts of our team is we all come with different strengths. And also, yes, look at his LinkedIn because he posts lots of other things like helping others level up to get their jobs. So follow us both. We both do cool things. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you come watch this later, share it with your friends. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our next episode. And check out Netlify. We'll have the links on the next screen as we sign off. So thank you, everyone.
Enjoy your matcha.
Cheers.